Welcome to another episode of Epic Understanding. I am your host, Erica Atkins, affectionately known as Coach Love. You know what? I I surprise myself. I surprise myself with the cool people that I'm able to connect with and bring to you. So trust me, it is a joy for me as well. What I want you to know about this particular guest is that she's actually coming to me because I interviewed her business partner, Shamir Dustin. And they have a business together where they are basically just moguls. They are media moguls. But this particular young lady that I am bringing to you tonight, she actually brought Shamir and her husband together. She's a millionaire matchmaker, guys. It's amazing. But her story doesn't stop there. Her story is powerful, and every time I peel back a layer, I was like, "What? Tell me more." And there was another layer. Tell me more. So there was just so much to her. I don't even think I can tell you. We can share everything tonight. That's remarkable because she has a lot going on. She's an author, producer. She works in the news. She books talent for um, major networks. I mean, she's got a lot going on. But that's what moguls do, right? So, without further ado, welcome, Amber. How are you? Uh-oh, we got to get you off mute. There you go. Welcome, Amber. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Coach Erica. I'm so excited to be on here today. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I have to say, with you, you have so much going on that I almost don't know where to start. Really, I don't know where to start, but where I think I'm going to just put it right out there because people are here because you are a matchmaker, but you never trained to be a matchmaker. You were born into it,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I kind of feel like you when people ask me what I do, and I'm like, let me take a deep
Mm.
breath because it's a lot. A lot of it was just marketing to get my name out there as Houston's Millionaire Matchmaker. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I worked in the dating industry for a while, and I saw there was so much shade that goes on in it.
Oh,
And my dad taught me, and he's like, you only have your name, so you can't align with people like that who would change their business name every few months because they had so many complaints.
oh
Um,
wow.
I'm a combination of my mom and my dad. My mom is the first generation matchmaker in our family. She matched and married all her friends to their husbands, and they stayed together. So my mom never had anyone that she matched get divorced, even though it wasn't like a professional thing. It was just what she did. Um,
Uh-huh.
we are empaths, so I never say I'm psychic, but I know things, and I just know what
Okay.
I know. And so I am second. I'm actually second generation matchmaker, and my
Hmm.
daughter, who's 27, she's also third generation, so she's match made people as well. But our claim to fame is that we've never had a divorced client because, like I try to explain to people, this is not me thinking. Hey, you would be great with so and so. This is an intuition that God gives me and shows me who the soulmates are, and that's how I do it. So
You
that
know in your knower. And before we listen, I just cannot let you jump over that. In 3 generations, not your mom, not you,
mhm,
and not your daughter,
mhm,
no one has had a divorced couple.
not one.
Do we know what the divorce rate is in America? That's huge.
Actually, since the pandemic, I was doing a lot of news appearances about the divorce rate doubling, the divorce request doubling the first month after COVID because people didn't know how to get autonomy and be in the same home together. And I have my belief system on what happened with that,
Mm,
but I think that it's really interesting because a lot of people don't really understand what it takes to make it in today's world. But for the first time ever in 30 years, actually, this is the first time that 70% of children are in a double parent household. So the divorce request, actually before COVID, believe it or not, the divorce request had got right under 50%. It was about 48, 49. And I even saw an article the other day that said that 51% of millennials still believe in marriage. So there's hope. Okay. And as long as there's hope, I'm going to keep fighting for real love, real marriage. When people come to me, they have to say that they want love, not necessarily marriage. Not everybody believes in marriage, but I don't do
Mm.
hookups, sugar daddies, situationships. I don't do none of that.
Uh-oh, not naming them off. What are they? The situationships, the hookups, the
Uh,
sugar
you know,
daddies, all of that.
textationships where you never actually do anything. Your whole it's like a fantasy island on a text message. Uh,
Wow.
you got to be looking for love. Now, I mean, that's how it is for me, and I love it. It never gets old.
Okay. And so you make sure that your clients are looking, that they're looking for love.
Hmm.
What is it that happens in you, or how are you matching people? Because the couple that I met you through,
Yeah,
they got married in 86 days. Is that right?
87 days. Yeah, it's true.
87 days. 87 days.
Yeah. So I'll just give you an example with them. What happened? Kind of explain walk through that process. Basically, I used to have a radio show, and her husband came on my radio show, and he's a publishing company, so he's like 250 best-selling authors. So I like to hang around bosses, and so
All right now.
I was interviewing, and Shamir and we've been like official, like full-blown partners for over a year now, but we've actually been working together for 15 years as television producers, and came up through the ranks together and really trying to put Houston on the map. And we are putting Houston on the map. We'll tell you about that later. But anyway, her husband came on my show. I had never met him before. I just, I see people on Facebook. I'm like, oh, he looks interesting. Let me see what's going on. And, that's just, again, God leading me to those people. And
Okay.
I'm thinking it's for the show, but it's really for her to be married, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But I booked him on the show, and it was just like this boom. It's like you get this picture, and I'm like, oh my God, like he's perfect for Shamir. So he gets on. He at the time he lived in Austin. He left the studio. I sent his picture to Shamir, and I said, I found your Boaz. And then once she was like, oh, okay, he's cute, he's a very striking, good looking guy. And so she's like, but she is she is like the wall of China, honey. It take an army to get through that. You know what I mean? But so she's very protective who she lets in, and rightfully so. And so I sent him her picture, and I said, I found your rib. Because the main thing they had in common was God. And even though they are bosses in their own right, the glue is having, especially with a woman of God, there's no way I would ever recommend or endorse or try to match somebody that's not a man of God, because there's no way she's going to follow him. Anyway, so vibing on
Wait,
both of
let's hit a pause.
Yeah.
Let's hit a pause because we're
Okay.
speaking a little bit of Christianese. When
Yes.
someone says, I found your Boaz, that's
Mm-hmm.
like, I found your,
King.
for lack of a better word, knight in shining armor, so to
Right.
speak. And then when someone says, I found your rib, what they're really saying is, I found your helpmate, your princess, your perfect mate
Mm-hmm.
for you. So they can kind of get that from context, but I did want to really point that out, just because if you are not, a part of that particular culture, you might not know what those amazing
Right.
terms mean.
Right.
Because that's powerful. When someone
Absolutely.
says that to you, it's really powerful. But continue.
That's how serious I was with it, because, and she and I would kind of joke through the years. She's like, "Where's my husband?" Kidding around, and I'm like, "I haven't met him yet. Like, I would know if I did." And long story short, I exchanged their phone numbers, and
Okay.
it took her 3 days to actually answer the phone. I'm like, "Girl, quit playing with me. We've been talking about this for 15 years, and I found him. You need to answer the phone." Finally got her to call him back. And they finally talked, and I'm telling you, they were inseparable. They were engaged within 6 weeks, and they were married in 87 days. Now, listen, I've never had a client get married that fast, but at the same time, when a man knows, especially if he's a man of God. So who's to say? Everybody had their, disbelief or, oh my God, 87 days. And I do recommend going through multiple seasons before you get married to somebody. But I also know that my grandparents met and fell in love at first sight and were together 60 years. So who knows? I don't think there's a real true formula as far as how long you should wait or this and that. I think you have to go with what's true for you. But I still recommend, go through at least 2 seasons together because you want to meet their family, especially if you're thinking about having kids. You want to see what their belief system is. There's just things you got to investigate, make sure they can hold down a job, make sure they're stable. We're trying to build a boo. Okay. So,
Okay, I'm 100% with you on that because there are a lot of options out here. There are a lot of options out here, and what I mean by that is sometimes people simply can't focus long enough to love.
mhm.
That's really it. There's nothing wrong with them per se, but they can't focus on one person or invest in one relationship long enough to love that person. And it might not have anything to do with them having relations outside of the actual relationship, but they're overly indulged in their hobbies and their families um, and their work. They're just on a mission that doesn't include romance.
Well, America, one thing I can definitely tell you is the millennials, like I said, that 49% that don't even believe in marriage anymore. A lot of the culture now is ghosting, not catching feelings, not,
Oh, not catching feelings. What does
yeah,
that even mean? What does
I'm,
that even mean?
I'm catching flights, not feelings. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, oh,
women nowadays are having children later than ever. The average age of a woman having a child now is 27. Back when I was growing up, it was like 18. You know what I mean?
okay.
Women are putting their career, they're putting their self first now. They are making their own money. And so we used to depend on men in older relationships to have our stability. Nowadays, women are not putting up with anything and they're not going to settle. And it's like, hey, the things that you used to be able to get me to compromise for, I don't have to anymore. I make my own money, I have my own education, I have my own things, and I don't you never want to tell men you don't need them, but
Hmm.
at the same time, that's just the millennials are kind of like, and I think it's just been the double standard that they've seen our grandparents and even my parents' generation and our generation go through. And there's been a double standard for a lot of times. But that's why I wrote my book because even though we can act like men in every sense of the word, God did not build us to be that way. And there's all the confusion. People don't even know who pays for a date anymore. So it's a lot of confusion around that. But the pop culture is don't get attached. But if you do, then you can have a side piece. Girls cheat as much as guys do nowadays. I saw an article the other day. It said 85% of women surveyed admitted they have a plan B guy. Women
Oh, wow.
women are just like men in every sense of the word. And it started off wanting education, rights, equal pay, which we're still not quite there. But you've got women that run kingdoms in the world. So it started out being equality, and it's turned it into where it's a lot of confusion on who does what, and in the dating world, But I'm here. The reason I'm so passionate about what I do is I'm here as long as I'm alive, I'm going to keep saying the same message that real love exists, monogamy exists, faithfulness exists, loyalty exists. It's about the vetting process, and because women have sex casually like men now, we are bypassing the part where submission is a really dirty word to a lot of very feminist women. But the really thing about it is submission starts with the man. He is the one that submits to you in the beginning, by showing you I am stable, I am dependable, I am reliable. But see, when we jump in bed and we don't make them prove anything, we go against a man's basic nature to hunt. So we want to
Okay.
make sure that we are understand how men think. And even though we can be like them, but when we are like them, all it does is confuse the situation, because you don't ever see a deer lay down in front of a lion. Men are hunters. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-oh, did you say, wait a minute, you got some lines. You got some lines. I'm catching flights, not feelings. And and then you don't ever see a deer laying down in front of a lion. That's woo, wow. That's all I can say is I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Keep it up, girl. Keep it up. So,
It's a lot.
um, a line that I heard, now this is on the male side, but a line that I heard is, why have a wife when you can have a life? What do you think about
Mhm.
that line?
Why buy a pig to get a little sausage?
Wait a minute, what did you say? What? Wait a minute.
I'm also a comedian, y'all, so this is not going to be your typical matchmaker interview. I'm going to kind of clown a little bit. I'm actually a roast comedian, so I like to
You're
clown.
a roast comedian?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Because I'm so nice in my life, and but I'm a tough love date coach, and so I just take it to the stage. The reason, because a lot of times there's a reason people are single and they're not self-aware enough to know it's you, boo, it's you. Okay.
Okay, what is something that people don't know about themselves? What's something that they miss?
Just see, the thing about the culture we live in, it's all about ego based, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
there are people that are committing suicide because they don't have the right bag, the right car, the right whip, the right, and that's what I try to explain to people. When people find out I'm a millionaire matchmaker, they're like, oh, yeah, I want a rich husband. Get me a rich husband. And I'm like, that's not what you're saying to me. That's not what you really mean. You,
Uh-huh.
that because you can go get your own money. And I even had one client, I had to tell her because she had met somebody who made like high six figures, and she's like, oh, and she was kidding, and she's like, you should have hooked me up with a millionaire. And I said, I did. You just got to bring it out. I said, God told me to tell you that's on you to bring that out. That's
Oh,
your job
wow.
to help me, because I
Mm-hmm.
see the potential for the big picture. But the culture we live in, it is completely opposite. It's like, hey, you'll get it right on your third or fourth divorce. Oh, you can have a side piece, so do we. It's mind blowing how things really are in today's world. I mean, Erica, it is mind blowing on the dating scene. But one thing I can tell you is everybody's confused as hell and trying to figure out the answers. And people that come to a matchmaker are people that there's nothing wrong with them. It just means that they are more picky, more selective about who they want to spend their life with, and they understand that who you pick to spend your life with is the most important decision you'll ever make, and it can make or break you. They will either help you on your path or they will send you down destruction.
Now, I will say, finding your lifelong mate is the most important, well, at least one of the most important
Mm-hmm.
decisions you can ever make. I believe your faith is the most important decision that you
That's
can
it.
make, but finding your life mate um, is choosing a lifelong partner. You know, who is going to be in the foxhole with you? And for me, a lot of people love well, but when they fight, when they disagree, they become disagreeable. Me personally, I'm highly sensitive to that. I I don't mind speaking your mind,
Mhm.
but I don't like the yelling and the hurting one another. And I still remain careful with a person.
Right.
Um, when I don't necessarily see eye to eye with them, but I notice that some people fight really ugly.
But that's part of not being self-aware. You may not
Okay.
realize that you're a mean person. You're a selfish person. You're a control freak. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that a lot of people have to heal from their last relationship, but now we just jump into the next relationship. And as they
Mm.
say, get under somebody to get over somebody. That's not it either. So I just think that people need to slow down and build the friendship. Get to know each
Mm.
other. See if you actually like the person. Because, honey, if you're basing it on sex, it's not gonna. That is not enough to sustain a relationship. Sex is
So
only
you can't build a relationship off of a cute butt?
honey, 25% of the time. Okay, 25. That's it. But that's what I'm saying.
Dang
But
it.
what if their health goes south? What if they get
Yeah.
an illness? But people,
Uh-huh.
one of my favorite memes I ever saw was this couple who they were models, and you may have seen it where he said, I fell in love with her soul, not her face, because her face had kind of like melted in a fire. She got in a real bad
Okay.
fire. And he was still, had his arm out proud to be with her. Like, that's my
Mhm.
woman. And he was like, I fell in love with her soul. But that's the thing. But that's why people have so much problem, because anytime you attach yourself, let's say we're a power couple because we make money,
Mhm.
we go get it. But what happens if one of you loses position or your job? So you
Right.
build a
Right.
foundation on friendship
Mhm.
and common interest. Because if y'all don't like the same things, then y'all going to be arguing all the time. Well, why don't you go to this? Well, didn't you know that about me when you met me? Well, yeah. Okay, well then shut the hell up. So it's just people, and we're just, I mean, culture supports us being selfish, and that's
Mm.
sad, you
Mhm.
know?
iPhone, iPad, I. Oh, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think that mates should be able to see one another's phones?
I think that you should be able to trade, not search through phones. I think you
Mhm.
have to have a level of autonomy. I think that if
Mhm.
you feel the need to search through their phone, you already have your answer.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I think that you should be able to trade phones if whatever, or they can answer your phone or whatever, as long as it's
Mhm.
healthy, not obsessive, controlling, manipulative. But I don't think you should have anything to hide. One of my favorite things I ever saw in my life was one of my comedy mentors that passed away, and
Mm.
his fiance had all his passwords to his Facebook, all his everything. And so, because of that trust level, she was able to maintain a memorial page for him. But
Mhm.
see, it's the little things. People don't understand it's the little things that add up to the big problems. And I think that that is a bigger level of trust. But I think some people are going to demand that you trust them, and then other people will be more explanatory. But I think it's really about slowing down to build the friendship to where if you do attract somebody that you think might have potential player ways, you slow down and you don't let your kitty betray you, and you slow down and get to know the person. And I know they might be super hot and you might be really want them, or maybe they can advance your career or give you some kind of opportunity. At what cost? Because
Mhm.
honey, the wealthiest you will ever be in life is having peace of mind.
Yes, yes, yes. You want to my thought process is the flip side on that.
Hmm.
I want to be able to give you my phone,
Right.
know that you're not going to do anything weird.
Right. Well, what do you call weird?
Weird like searching for no reason, looking for flaws,
Yeah.
being suspicious, going into bank accounts or anything like that. If there was a reason for you to do those things, then of course do them. Like if I got a Facebook thing and you
Hmm.
needed to, type somebody back really fast for me, you knew the answer, you got it, do, bam, you're done. Great. So that's a reason to do it. But to have it and then feel the need to be like, let me snoop around, I don't want that. Does that
Well,
make sense?
real players will tell you the truth. It ain't about that phone. It's about the phone you don't know about. Okay.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. They have a whole,
Listen, more people cheat during working hours.
yeah.
Well, he comes home or she comes home to me at night. Okay. And people do what they want to do and people do what you let them. It's just about, don't make threats. I'm going to leave you if you do XYZ, and then
Hmm.
stay. if they do that.
Yeah.
Because
You
every
know what?
time you win, you lose your credibility.
I did see this TikTok video of this woman, and she had this whole rant where she was telling the side piece, "Listen, you know you're the side piece. That means that when you drop me off, don't call me back, and don't call me at by 6 o'clock because I'm off the train and I'm already in the car with my main man."
Mhm.
And something about I need my rent. Da, da, da. I'm like, woman, you crazy. But it was this whole big
That's like
deal.
I talked to a girl the other day, and she's like, "Yeah, I got four dudes," and I'm like, "Wow." I mean,
That's exhausting.
I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I think that you
That
just have to not live in denial or fantasy island and understand if they wanted to, they would. That's why my favorite book is He's Just Not That Into You. That's one of my favorite ones. One of
mhm,
my other favorite books is called Why Men Love Bitches. Because that's people, I'm telling you, when you are thirsty and desperate, that's when you're going to get played the most. They
mhm,
sense it, and there are professional con artists that look for those kind of things. And that's why the online dating industry is a $1 billion scam.
mhm,
So
mhm.
you got to have a way to get to know people. I think matchmaking is amazing. It's not for everybody, you know. It
You know
really
what?
does work well for people that are busy. But I think events are the best way to meet people and natural as you can outside of matchmaking.
I agree. Go about your life, um, making yourself your own project. A gentleman by the name, he's a part of the Loveland community, and
Mhm.
he says, make yourself your own project. And I think that is really best to do. So go about your uh, life building your own self up, and then you'll attract what you are building within your own mind. I mean, within your own heart, within your own life. That said,
Yeah.
make sure you have proper boundaries. I
Boundaries
would,
are everything. I'm telling you, boundaries are
yeah,
everything. And I agree too. You can attract one of two kind of people. You can attract people that you wish to be like because you admire their strength, but that can be an
uh-huh,
opposite thing. And you also attract people like you. They say opposites attract, but the studies show they don't stay together like people that have more common interests. And it
hmm
might blow your mind to even know long distance relationships have just as much success rate as local relationships. It's all about the integrity of the people involved.
if I could go back and I could tell my little, 20 something year old self
Yeah.
something, I would say, guard your heart, little one, and make sure you have appropriate. And it is not because you want to be rigid in any way, but just because you love generously
Mhm.
does not mean everybody else loves generously.
That's why we get hurt because people judge others how they see themselves. And that's why
Yeah,
you have so many haters and negative people out there because what they're seeing in you that they don't like is usually something they identify within them. And that's why
yeah,
you got to understand that people are, uh, that's why we get hurt because we feel betrayed because we wouldn't do it. That's why we get
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Please take our poll. The question is, are we too busy to date? I'd love, love, love to hear what you guys have to say about that. Who we have here is Amber Neal, Houston's millionaire matchmaker, plus way more. You are a comedian, producer, news anchor, author. So you have this book that you've been telling us
Mhm.
about, and you basically been, I think just rattling off. Yeah, yes, yes, very beautiful. So that is amazing. I personally think that there'll be a course to go along with it. I think people should rush out and get this book. But you're also a comedian. I think what I really want to know about is the your work um, as a producer and how you're blending being a matchmaker and a producer together. How's that happening?
So when I first started, it was like, okay, how do I get my name out here to let people know I'm a real matchmaker, not attached to a billion-dollar industry with a major budget? It's like, how do I get myself out there? And I was like, you know what? I've been told I'm funny. I know matchmaking. I know event planning, and I've done business for 20 years running other multi-million-dollar companies. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I started doing comedy 7 nights a week, three to
Mm-hmm.
four rooms a night until I felt like I had really could trust my funny.
Okay, trust your funny.
hmm And then after that, I signed up the second year. I signed up to take TV producer classes. So I became a certified TV producer through the city of Houston. And
Mm-hmm.
then I became a technical director. So that just means I can run in the studio, in the technical, run behind the scenes, and I learned how to edit. I learned lighting. I learned sound. I learned how to build websites. I learned graphics. And so everybody kept telling me, "Oh, you're doing too much. You're doing too much." And I'm like, I don't have a choice. Like, if I want to get myself out there, I've got to be all these hats. And so, woo! So it was real crazy. I wound up going on a couple of years later to get my own night at the Houston Improv, the Joke Joint. I do comedy clubs around the country. I've had my own night at several clubs, and comedy is something I enjoy.
Uh-huh.
But it's just like TV to me. It's marketing, and so my plan as a comedian was to never be a road comic and do comedy clubs for 30 years. That takes too long. So my marketing plan was, okay, I'm going to become a TV producer. I'm going to create a show for me so that I can meet all the people I want to meet. Because when you are brand new and the people that are already on are not going to help you. So you have to be able to give your way into wealth and give your way into just the psychology. The benefit I had working for me is doing relationships so long. I knew the psychology of business and I knew how to deal with it. And so I started very quickly managing comedians, running two comedy rooms. I had my own rooms within 2 months of doing comedy. And then I started producing my show. And my thing is, it's all a message of curing the divorce rate. So I was like, let me become a TV producer and produce positive programming. And so when I signed up for bosses, they were like, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Because one day I want to run a TV network and I need to know every job and every role. I don't want to not be able to do it at all, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And so through the years, and in 2018, I launched my PR firm because I was able to garner some major press for myself on 2020, Barbara Walters, The Tonight Show, all these different places from doing high publicity events that had never been done. That's why the media calls me the innovator, because I create dating trends, events that have never been done. And so I went on to get a lot of different recognitions, like my Day in the City, the State of Texas Congressional Awards, and just built my brand to where it was irrefutable and legit. And from there,
Amazing.
expert for the news. And so now it's like my partnership with Shamir. I have a PR firm. She's CEO of the network, and we found that's a great brand marriage because shows are PR, and we
Mm-hmm.
teach people how to create their own brands, own their own content, and not get messed over by the bigger places. But right now, we're super proud to announce that we are becoming the first major network in Houston, Texas. We have about 25 shows on the network. Once we get to 50, we're considered major. So say a prayer, y'all. It's hard.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. Well, what I was looking for you to do is build that into matchmaking because really it is all a part of your matchmaking
Yeah.
journey. It's all a part of your matchmaking journey. And I find that to be amazing. Tell me this. What are what do men need to know these days about dating?
The woman's always right.
Ah, are you sure about that? I got some men that might disagree.
Go look at her mama. You can tell how she's going to look. But
Really? You think so?
nah, I'm just kidding. A lot of times, though, I mean, they
I
teach
mean,
us.
a lot of times.
But as far as, just to kind of just touch back on what you asked before, so I have a sexy single sofa. So if any of you guys are watching and you want to That's where I show live matchmaking, and that's the whole point. People are like, how does matchmaking work? So we bring you on the show, and it's a big production, and we match people on the show, and so that's how I use it in public to get more
Right. So
business.
you have this dating show.
Mhm.
Is it reminiscent of oh, what is that? Remember Chuck Will 2 and 2?
Oh, Love Connection.
Yeah. Is it
Oh my God, I used
reminiscent?
to love that show. It's like what I do is I literally sit down with people and talk to them as if there's no cameras there. I
Okay,
talk to
yeah.
them about we go over like a bunch of questions and we talk about deal breakers and then we talk about I'm trying to identify if they are the problem.
Oh,
And because people, you have to be coachable. And I say all the time, I am a matchmaker, not a magician. Okay.
there you go.
But as far as men and what they need to know is that it's the same thing women need to know is be equally yoked. Even my daughter who's a matchmaker, we were having this discussion the other day. She was like, talking about she was wanting me to talk to one of her friends that was she felt was unequal yoked. That he's a believer, but his girlfriend is not. Not that she's not, but she don't really hear her ever talk about that way. And she's like, you need to kind of like expose her to that. And I said, that's his role to do that. And she said it's better to, even though when you're married, as a believer or unbeliever, you're covered by the believer. It's better to be equal yoke from the jump. So if you have aspirations, for example, if you come from a family of 10 and you love professional sports and you love to watch all that, don't marry an introvert who hates sports.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And if your
Absolutely.
faith is important to you, don't compromise your faith ever because especially if you're gonna have kids, because I have matched people of different religions, but
Mm-hmm.
it's about what are you teaching the kids? As long as you can agree on that message, you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to confuse them. And one partner may be more active in their faith and the other one just grew up that way. But I just think it's better to do it right from the beginning and avoid it. I mean, anything that I believe God can fix anything as long as people are being honest. But at the same time, I think for men and women, it is that don't give up hope. Don't lose hope that real love exists. Just because you see that a lot of women have turned into men, like every sense of the word. And I think I even talk about that in my book. We used to require a diamond to give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's what time do you get off? We're
Oh,
just too.
God, you crack me up.
You know what I'm saying? We're having a problem too. But that's the whole point. People
Oh my gosh.
you don't need to be dating if you're not healed enough to that you're scared to not sleep with somebody because you
Mhm.
think you're going to lose them. Bye. Okay.
Well, you know
Don't.
what? Let's get down to some nitty gritty. Let's
Yeah.
get down to some nitty gritty. Here's the nitty gritty for you. And this is something that a woman told me. And I actually saw a video on it. A man took her out. It was a beautiful evening. He was such a gentleman. Got her home. He wanted to come up. And she says, "Oh no, I'd rather not. I'm celibate." He switched. No, 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 no. He switched. His head flew around and literally said out his mouth, "How are you going to be celibate and you got 3 kids?" Now, obviously, that's not the man for her, but it's the sentiment that I'm interested in. What do you
It,
think about that?
I think that's called toxic masculinity. And I think that there are date coaches out here. I'm not going to throw no shade, but there's a one that's making a lot of name for himself, and it rhymes with heaven. And but he is teaching men, he is teaching women that in order to attract a high value man, that you have to be. I heard him say it with his own mouth. Beyonce ain't a 10. That's what he said. Beyonce ain't a 10. And I'm just like, wow, you are crazy. But he's telling women. I heard him say, if you're over 40 and you got kids, you need to give it away.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that
And
is
would you say that's toxic? See, I would say
that's toxic.
Okay, so I have I don't know, a wound. I have a wound when I'm hearing this term toxic masculinity because I'd
Mhm.
rather bend towards positive masculinity, but I will say that's toxic humanity. That's devaluing a human to their most physical form. Men don't want to be boiled down to their pocketbook, and women don't want to be boiled down to their physical, um, their physical elements.
Mhm.
I think it
Just
is
for your
toxic for a
feelings.
woman to do, just say, give me the cash, and toxic, of a man to say, be a big butt, be a big butt or something like that. We have to be
Mhm.
good humans. We have to be good humans, but wow.
But that's the
So
problem. He's the problem to me is that, hey, I get high value men, high value women exist too, right?
absolutely.
The problem is that
High value human.
you're putting the value on money. See,
Mhm.
money, and that's why you can see an 80-year-old rich guy with a young tenderoni because, and that's what I try to tell women all the time. They say they want to meet a millionaire. I mean, but what you don't get is the richer they are, usually the more eccentric they are. And they're going to upgrade you. They're going to date. They might be with you for a while, but they don't really play by the same rules as other guys. And so you
Mm,
might women play themselves because it's in our benefit as a woman until we're about 35 to 40. But at 40, that is when the favor goes to the men, and it is the men's because men date younger. So even though that's why you see so many 50 and 60-year-old women that are fine, educated, beautiful, amazing, and can't find love to save their life because for her,
wow.
she's going to have to find somebody that's willing to date age appropriate and or somebody that's about to meet the crypt keeper. You know what I'm
So
saying?
do you wait, do you recommend, do you think that dating is very different for women in their 40s than it is for, 35 and whatnot, 35 and
Well, I
down?
can tell you as a matchmaker, I raise my prices every decade. So the women that are 39 don't pay the same thing as women that are 49 or 59. And there's a
Wow.
reason for it because it becomes so much harder for women to find love the older they get. That's just real. As women, we get old in society and
Wow.
men become distinguished. They look good with salt, pepper hair, but we're over here trying to color our hair and hide it. So it's still a double standard. And that's where some
Mhm.
of these dating experts are trying to make these men, they're hyping up these men who probably can't get a woman on their own if they tried. And
Mm.
coming in here and trying to make them think the value is on the money. What if the money fades? What if you get a sickness? It's not the high value is in your soul and in your heart. That has nothing to do with anything external. And that's why people have so much depression, jump from partner to partner, because they think that healing is external. Or if I get the right job, the right partner, the right money, I'm going to be happy then. You're not going to be happy until you heal. And once you heal, you will notice that the language you speak is healed. The language you pick up on from potential partners, you'll peep it, you'll catch it. You're like, oh,
Okay.
that's not healed. That is a broken person. And
Mhm.
don't try to build a boo. The self love journey is a solo journey. It's not a team exercise. So you got
Wow.
to listen with your ears and not below the belt. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, okay.
They're saying. Don't get caught up in something physical. Especially narcissists will try to love bomb you to death and get you so
Yeah,
down so
yeah.
the mask falls off. And then if you ever been in a narcissistic relationship, reach out to me because that is. Mm, mm, mm.
Well, you wanna know what? I think that my personality type, used to, not any longer,
Amen.
attract attract, someone who wanted to be served and wanted to be honored because I'm kinda like that. I'm a helper. I wanna help you. I wanna help you build your dreams. I literally don't mind and am willing to go get your plate, rub your back, all of those things, and I will get enjoyment out of that kind of expression of affection. But I need to. just be very careful
You have
with
to. Mhm.
giving those things out. Let's switch topics.
Okay.
Let's talk about interracial dating. What do you think about that?
Well, my kids are biracial. And
Okay.
I was the first person to openly interracial date back when I was in high school. There was a Ku Klux Klan in the town.
Uh-huh.
And I told my kids, it's so funny. Yesterday was my son's birthday. And we were talking about, now that they're 27 and 23, it's like I was so clueless to because we were never raised racist, but that don't mean you're not ignorant. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
you have no idea. You just think, oh, because you love everybody and you accept everybody. Again, we judge others how we see ourselves. So we really just think it was mind blowing how much education I had to get being interracial. It's been very complicated in business, Coach Erica. Honestly, it's been very complicated because the white people that are racist won't associate me because I'm, having racial kids. The and then there's the black crowd that also won't associate me because I'm interracial to black men. So it's been very like, hey, fight for who you love. That's the message. Fight for who you love. That's their problem. It's not your problem.
mhm. I think there's this couple that I watch on the internet, just observing their love, and so they are they captured the attention because he's paralyzed.
I love it.
Okay, he, he's paralyzed. He does have some use of his arms, but he doesn't have use of his legs in any way, and he speaks with a little bit of a lisp. A lisp. He's a white male. She is a black female, and she's a therapist. They
Wow.
have this huge gap in their physicality, their ability to have a great big life challenge. And you want to know what they are saying their biggest challenge is?
Hmm.
Their race. They get more flack about him being white and her being black than they do the whole totality of this physical situation that they're in. And just to hear them say that, I was like, wow.
Well, I'll tell you a real interesting. I'll tell you an interesting short story. That's my job as a matchmaker is to stretch you because it's not that it's not I'm not an advocate for anything. I don't care. I don't care who you like, right? But what I do is to try to find out why you believe what you believe. So if you come to me and say, I only want to date white men
Mm-hmm.
as a white woman, I'm going to ask you why, and they're like, I don't know. They never thought about it. Like, I don't know. That's just what I've always done. That's what my
Mm-hmm.
parents expect from me. And that so many times we're living in our parents' expectations that we don't have the bravery to step out and say, I don't see color like that. I love who I want to love. But I had this one white female, and she was actually like in her late 50s. And she said the same thing to me. She's like, I want, and she was real refined and just real fancy, just proper lady.
Is that fancy?
Fancy. She's a country girl, so she's fancy. Um,
Okay.
but the guy that she actually wound up falling in love with was a British black man.
Mm-hmm.
Had
Mm-hmm.
never dated interracial before. But it wasn't about their color. It was the way, their energy, their interest, like everything. They had so much in common. The only thing
Mm-hmm.
was he was black. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
listen, this won't count against your introduction. Go meet him. And you can tell me, hey, you know what? I don't ever want to try anything again. But that's what I do as a matchmaker. Sometimes I will understand. I will just pick up on those little things. I need to know your why. Oh, I'm Baptist. Why? I'm Republican. Why? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we're just
Mm-hmm.
followers, and people are not opening themselves up to a world full of opportunities and love because your skin. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I get religion, I get politics, that goes to your core beliefs and who you are. I understand that. But race for me, I've just, as somebody who's, interracial my whole life, I've just never been able to understand that. But to each their own. But it is more about don't impose your beliefs either way. Acceptance is the key.
So let's talk about politics. Can I get a QAnon person to date a woke person? No, it's not happening.
No, honey, this country is so divided.
Oh my gosh. But
Because
okay, no, okay, I was being silly, but can we get somebody who's on the far left to date somebody on the far right?
no,
No, not happening.
I had, I think in the history, I think I've had two.
Not even if they're really, really hot. No.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've had two. I've had two matches that they were hardcore. I've had people say, "Don't match me unless they're this tall. Don't match me unless they like this kind of music. Don't match me unless they're this religion or politics, or money or whatever." I mean, that's why I say people are the problem. I'm like, you are in a fantasy island. I hate when people are not self aware enough to know, like, and I agree with some of the experts. It's about knowing the reality of the options out there. And I think that people think that's offensive, but it's real. I mean, I can, I know that you can fall in love with anybody, but at the same time, you got to know what your parameters are and your boundaries are. Because if you're hardcore marching for Trump and you got somebody in the left that's like hardcore Democrat, I
Mhm.
mean, but it's happened. I've had two that they were hardcore, like they have to be Republican or Democrat. And I'm like, hey, you know what? So if I feel in my spirit that they should, outside of that, they would be a good match. I won't count it as an introduction. I'm like, just go meet them. Just go see. If I'm wrong, it won't count. Just go see. And they fell in love. But they just
Mhm.
learned. It's kind of like a house divided when it comes to
Mhm.
sports teams, because
Uh-huh.
people take their sports just as serious
Yeah. Yeah.
politics, and they are for real. Like, we're UT, we're A&M, and you say, I mean, even my dad and I used to, every weekend I would watch the Texans and he would watch the Cowboys. And being a diehard Texans fan, I didn't have no love for the Cowgirls, but I love my dad, so I
Yeah.
accepted it. We don't have
I,
to be just like us, you know.
it's
I'm
true.
done with
I
that.
know a guy. I know a guy. He's a Republican, and he loves this liberal lady. He wants to change her politics so bad, but he, as he says, I overlook it.
But see, but here's the thing. If people would just dig deeper into why, because a lot of times they're not even cognizant of why they are so hardcore. Half the time you're brainwashed. It's
Oh
just
wow.
you can grow up in a religion your whole life and
Hmm.
not know why you believe it. But it's like,
Okay.
are you thinking for yourself? Or is
Hmm.
this brainwashed? This is how it's always been done. This is just what we always do. It's crazy.
Wow.
Just what's your why? So if you can have a conversation with a Republican and a Democrat and they can say, this is why I am this way, then
Hmm.
a level of respect can come into that. Go, you know what? I disagree, but we can agree to disagree. You don't have to be total, like everything has to be on all cylinders identical. In fact, it might make it spicy and fun. It's like, okay, well, if my candidate wins, then you have to cut the yard. If your candidate wins, you have to take out the trash. Just make fun with it. Don't take it so serious.
Let me be clear. I'm not cutting nobody's grass. No.
That's why your candidate better win.
Oh, there you go. Look, I will not be betting the grass cutting.
No trash duty for Coach Erica.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let me quit it. Do you think dating when you're divorced is different than just someone who's been single their whole life? Oh,
To me, if somebody's over 40,
uh,
well, not, I mean, this is when the red flags start kind of creeping in for
okay. Is
me.
it a red flag?
Yeah.
Because
So
it is?
I would rather deal with somebody divorced than
Okay.
somebody never married.
Okay.
Because as far as like for my personal self, like if it was me dating, this is
Mm-hmm.
how I look at it. Because when they're divorced, they at least understand what goes into putting someone else first. They understand the needs and obligations. Maybe if you have children or extended family, and especially when you get into that middle age where you're taking care of aging parents and kids. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pulls on you. But somebody single, never married, especially over 50, 9 out of 10 times, honey, you better run. I'm
Run,
serious.
run.
They got
Wow.
deep-seated commitment issues, and because there's always an exception. There are some people that put their whole life in career, and they finally reach their career goal at 50, and now they're ready. So it's
Okay.
not necessarily a red flag. It's just a be cautious flag, for lack of a better word.
Okay. It's a yellow flag.
It's a yellow flag. Yeah.
Okay. What about someone who's been married multiple times? Like they on their third wife.
Welcome to America.
Okay. Okay.
But that's my point. That's why I'm a TV producer, because we got to put a different narrative out there. That's
Okay.
the narrative in Hollywood. Have a side piece, cheat, do what you want to do. The energy is they treat divorce like a pill you swallow. They go into the marriage with the attitude of, if it don't work out, I'll just get a divorce. That is the pop culture mentality of America.
You know what? I'm not in everybody's business, but Shaq is such a good guy.
Mhm.
And today I heard that he was dating Michelle, who is from Entertainment Tonight. And she is a sweet, sweet lady. I don't know her exactly personally, but I do have some connection with her, like
Yeah,
from a friend over, so to speak.
yeah.
She is a really sweet lady. And I like to see Shaq just because he's always helping a person who's helpful. That's an attractive quality to me. I mean, the man pulls people, is on the side of the road, changing people's tires and buying groceries. Of course, he has the means to do this, but anybody can change someone's tire, and be
Right.
helpful in that way. And I love that he readily admits that he messed up. He had a very good woman who was very beautiful, and he couldn't control his desires at the time. He messed up and he's not planning on doing it again. And now he has this really beautiful woman that he wants to celebrate and appreciate. So I'm in love with that love story. I'm loving it.
It is timing. I'm telling you, that's what we've been in jail. I mean, 20 years later, been out of
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
are back together. The thing is, guys, the right person at the wrong time is a very real thing. And
Yeah.
sometimes people are in the middle of their self love journey. And it's kind of like sometimes God will put you in a room full of successful people to let you know, hey, this is where you're going to be. He'll give you a glimpse of that. And I think sometimes we meet people in the wrong season, and it's a glimpse of the future, but it's not right now. And it's when we try to force it, and instead of just letting it happen natural. But I think maturity is an amazing thing. I mean, I can know at my age now, I don't think the same that I did when I was in my 30s. Not even remotely close to that. Wisdom is the most beautiful gift of getting older. Wisdom is amazing. If you could just
It
go back and
is
take
amazing.
what you know now.
Yeah. It would be amazing. It would be wonderful. If I was as smart as I am or mature as I am now or had the life experience I do right now, when I was in my 20, I'd be bad to the bone, girl. Oh my God. That'd
But
be amazing.
I don't know, but isn't that part of the fun, is making the mistakes and finding out? It's like, would you really do it different? And I honestly, I've been through some stuff, but I really don't think I would do anything different. I
Wow.
really made a lot of mistakes in my life, but it is what helped me know my truth. But
Well,
that's what they teach success. If you're not failing at some point, you're not ever going to be successful. Failure
you
is
gotta
part of
grow.
success.
You really do have to grow. What do you think about, because a big part of dating when you're in a mature stage in life, you have these friends that are married, and you have a lot of the unhappily married friends. They're married, they're still sticking it out. You're not, you're not giving anybody any advice, but they're toxic.
That is so funny you say, because that's one of the things I'm actually working on launching is a social club for couples called Married Date. It's like marriage and date together. I tried to
Okay.
launch during the pandemic, and it was just the wrong timing. But that is one of the number one things I say is, be careful who you're friends with, because you have the wrong friends, and you will be in a destruction in your marriage as well. And that's that thing about our social club is we want to. is we want to put people that are committed to the marriage, their vows, and take them serious. And so it's just like anything in life. If you want to be around success, you want to be a millionaire, you want to be successful, guess who you need to hang around? Guess who you need to get advice from? Guess who you need to be like? But you hang around people that sleep all day and don't ever work and don't hustle, guess who you're going to be like? So
Mhm.
definitely that is one of the most biggest things I say in my career is about couples. Check your circle. And honey and
Check your
girlfriend,
circle.
listen to your husband when he tells you that girl ain't no good. Because he
Mhm.
probably trying to blow up the whole thing and tell you, but there ain't no telling what happened when you weren't around. You have to make sure you're around people that have a commitment to their marriage and vows the way you do, or you're going to be in a whole world of trouble.
I agree. You know what? This guy right here, Enrique Acosta, he is, I just like him. I'm going to tell you, I like him because he's a pinch hitter, but he's a leadership coach, and he came on my platform and I interviewed him, and he shared such honest stuff about his own manhood
Mm-hmm.
that it was impressive. And when a man can look at himself and look at his own leadership and hold himself accountable, that's a thumbs up. So look, let's give him an applause for being a good husband.
Yes,
Hopefully, he's
that
somewhere being blushing or being embarrassed, but he's a good husband, right? A great dad,
anyway, that is the number one thing, man, but to be
and he likes it.
to
He likes
be
being a family man, so that's a great thing, right?
self-aware. Yes, and he's self-aware enough to know. But that's true. True leaders will tell you their failures. Only people that are leading their ego will be on Facebook talking about their perfect life. But true
Mhm.
leaders will tell you, I failed here, I failed here, I made a mistake there. And to be self-aware of your
Mhm.
own junk that because none of us are perfect, that's half the battle in a relationship. If you're going around and you're so busy pointing out what everybody else is doing wrong, but you don't even see what you're doing, then you're gonna. So I commend him because that's amazing to be so transparent. Because it's not easy in a world where people are all about the ego. But once you walk in your truth, it really is easy because once you know you get your blessings from God and not humans, you won't really think twice, but to be transparent.
You want to know what I would say in a guy? I definitely want a guy that makes me feel comfortable in my inadequacies.
Right, right. We don't want to
Mhm.
walk on eggshells. We don't want to feel like we have to be perfect or fake the funk. That's not the
Right,
right person for you if you have to
right,
if you feel like on guard all the time.
right. And so I want him to see him. Like I want to be like,
Yeah,
look, honey, this is what I do badly, and I want him to make me feel comfortable in what
right.
I'm not so good at, and I'm still growing in. Because there's just a bunch of stuff that I'm still growing in, and I want my partner to make me feel like that's okay, and I
Right.
want to do the same for him. One of the sweetest things, my nephew, um, he says a lot of sweet things, but one of the sweetest things he used to say is, "Can you help me?"
Oh,
But that's silly, right? But he trusted me to help him. I want to be able to trust my partner to help me.
trust is everything. I'm telling you, if you don't have trust with them, trust with your heart with them, and that's the thing about it is we've got to be able to show our ugly side and know they're not going to run. And especially if you're somebody that has abandonment issues, you have unhealed trauma, it's very normal until you heal. You're going to go attract somebody that's going to trigger you all the time, and you're going to keep attracting runners because somebody's staying don't feel normal. So we've got to change what's normal in ourselves and what we expect. But I go back again. I live by two rules: people do what they want to do, and people do what we let them. You teach people how to treat you by what boundaries you set, and you let them know when it's safe. And the thing is, that's why you got to build the friendship first
Yeah.
so that you can
Yes.
want to fall in love with somebody you like. Yes, you'll
Yes.
love them, but if you can't stand them, it's
Oh God.
you want to fall in love with somebody you like as much as you love.
That's right. And we want to be able to be with a guy or vice versa, a girl that does not make us feel uncomfortable. You and but loves us through it and helps us grow through it. That's what we want to do.
Yes.
We want to be able to grow through whatever it is that we're going through. Because I got to tell you, I like what I'm doing and I like where I'm going, but I want to be able to continue to grow and expand. I am a lifelong learner. And so because I'm at this level today doesn't mean don't want to be at this level tomorrow. I want to continue to expand my heart. I want to be able to expand my relationship with God. And if somebody with that kind of personality, I'm constantly going to be in situations where I'm brand new, where I'm figuring it out. And I need a partner who feels comfortable with me growing.
It's funny you say that because I speak to a lot of successful, high value women
Hmm.
about this topic, and they're like, I intimidate them, or they don't get me, or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, if you are that kind of woman that has aspirations and dreams, I find that you're more successful with someone who's already accomplished all the things they wanted to accomplish,
Mm.
and they have plenty of time to go, oh, honey, Erica, that's cute. Oh, that's so, I love that. And there, you have to have a secure man because
Yeah.
one of the biggest secrets, the 70-year-old guy, when his wife had passed away, he was asked, what is the secret to being married for so long, like 50 years? And he said, I was married to different women. And meaning that she became 8 different versions of herself. I know I'm not who I was even yesterday. My growth
Wow.
game is
Okay.
20. So I already know. Like if you knew me yesterday, you don't know me today, okay? But that's the thing. You gotta be you gotta have a partner that is secure enough in your connection that if you decide tomorrow, hey, you know what, I'm gonna run for president of the United States, they're gonna have your back because their happiness also comes from your happiness. And it's all, as they say, it's all about the way they make you feel.
I think that's really important. Um, so we've talked about, dating in your 40s and
Mhm.
40s and 50s, and then there is dating in your 60s too, right? There is dating, it just changes as you get older. We've talked about,
Girl, let me tell you something. Uh, the STD rate is
yeah,
STD rate is just as high among senior citizens as it is
yeah,
teenagers. That
yeah,
blue pill came out, girl. I could tell you stories about how they be fighting in these nursing homes and they be sneaking in there and they. Anyway, I don't know if that's really dating. I think they grew up in such a strict time frame that now they're kind of wilding out.
yeah. There
But
you go. I think that's
yeah,
wilding out. I don't necessarily think they're building a life together.
I don't think they're dating,
They're doing
But
something. They're doing something, but it's
you can find somebody in your 60s. You can. It's just we are humans. We are set in our ways. So
do
I'm
you
just that's why it's harder because the older you get, the more set in your ways you are. And like even though you may think if you've been a woman that's been single 10, 20 years, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I'm ready now. I'm ready. Like maybe you're divorced, you're like, okay, I've been single this whole time. Maybe I'm finally get ready. But then you have to ask yourself, are you really ready? You've lived alone for 20 years. Are you really ready to share your space? Are you really ready to not make all your own decisions? And people think they're ready, but they really have to ask those tough questions before they jump in when they're older because it's not really a compromise situation. And most people in their 60s are not looking to get married. Again, they're looking for companionship.
absolutely. Now I'm going to talk about two different extremes. I
Okay.
want to talk about dating as a Christian or a person who is of strict religious values and
Hmm.
what that looks like versus, I'm going to use this term, it's an odd little term, but a person with a high body count. That's a, um, and you know what I want to talk about?
Mm.
I want to talk about a man with a high body count versus a woman with a high body count and what that looks like. But first, let's go to the Christian dating,
Okay.
and then we'll get into the mischief.
Okay. Now,
What?
as far as Christian dating, I
Uh-huh,
mean, I think that one of the things I talk about in my comedy is some of these pastors out here and some of the
uh-huh,
church folks, because they're, it's like we're supposed to come as we are and accept each other as we are. But the church
uh-huh.
folks sometimes be the worst ones, judgmental and making people not feel comfortable. And
Mm,
that's why I don't think dating through the church is a good idea,
okay.
because one of three things: people are either there for healing.
Okay.
A church is like a hospital.
It is a hospital.
A lot
It
of
is.
brokenness going on.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are there for healing, and you met them in the wrong time. Uh,
Okay.
the second thing is that some people think it's religious to try to look for love in a place you're meant to worship. And then, unfortunately, especially in some of the mega churches, the con artists are unbelievable. They
Oh,
will
yes, yes. Listen, that's a whole show. The artists in the mega churches, or really the con artists in the churches with the slick men doing their little thing. I'm sure there's some slick women doing their little thing, but there is a lot of preying on hearts that I've seen. It's very interesting.
because they're praying. I get back to what I said. There's a lot of healing going on, and who does a con artist love? A broken person.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you can be easily manipulated and played like that. So, I think dating in the church, and here's the other thing, especially if you have like a home church or a church you've grown up in and you don't ever
Mm-hmm.
want to leave. And even though I agree, once you are married and you're all together, I mean, you're willing to take the risk. But as far as just dating, I think it's great to go to church together
Okay.
once you already met the person, but I wouldn't recommend trying to meet them in the church. But I would definitely say that, because what if you bring your boo and then y'all break up, and then what, are you going to leave your church? It's kind of like dating
Right,
at
right,
home.
yeah.
It can happen. Actually, the number one way people meet is at work. That's the number one. So it can happen, but then again, what happens if one of y'all,
Yeah,
y'all,
what is your alternate plan? What if it doesn't work out? So yeah, that is a big deal. There are pastors, then there are licensed ministers.
mm,
One heals and the other one judges.
well, I'm an ordained minister and I judge the hell out of people when I do comedy.
Girl, you're something else. You are something. You are something else. Okay, tell me about tell me
Oh,
about the boo lineup. High body count. The first time I heard that term, I mean, I was like, wow, and it's something. And it was over the internet, and it was I'm not dating a woman with a high body count, but yet here he stands, in triple digits. I thought, wow, here's something.
and that's the whole point. That's what I'm trying to say. Women are over the double standard. Women, the millennials and beyond, they're not. They don't care what you think about it. They're going to tell you it's none of your business how many people I've been with.
Hmm.
And number two, does it really matter? And most people are going to lie about it anyway. And as they
Hmm.
say, if she says five, multiply by three. It's just like a man will tell you he's 6 feet. He's probably 5'7". So I'm just saying, people lie all the time about things that they perceive as a not good selling point when they're trying to
Hmm.
market themselves. But at the end of the day, you got to remember one thing: the person that you supposedly like or catching feelings for or fall in love with, they wouldn't be exactly where they're at, who they are in the moment, if they hadn't made every mistake that they made. And at the end of the day, learn your Bible, people, because the Bible says that no one sin is greater than the other. So if I had 500 people and I went murder somebody, we are equivalent. And that's the thing
Hmm.
about it, though. If the Bible can tell you that God don't even remember your sin,
Hmm.
he removes it. He don't. He's like, what are you talking about? You're over here beating yourself up. Oh man, I slept with too many guys. I'm never gonna find. And God's like, but I forgave you for that. Why are you tripping? That's the enemy lying to you. And so we gotta understand that that is the whole goal and secret of the enemy, is to keep you in your feelings and your
Hmm.
emotions, beating yourself up. because he knows if you ever get into a positive energy and frequency, you can actually attract something positive. But as long as you're beating yourself up and not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy, you don't need to be dating if you don't feel worthy enough of somebody. You need therapy and healing so that you can know that you can make all the mistakes in the world and still do something very positive in life. And that's why I wrote my book. Hell, my book's called How My Kitty Betrayed Me, because that's the whole point. I was the first one on the forefront of the women's lib movement talking about if y'all can do it, so can we. Okay, 30 years later, okay, yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about that. First of all, tell us where we can get your book. Where can we buy your book?
You can get my book at Amber Neal, AMBERNEAL. That's my website, amberneal.com. And
Okay.
I'll autograph that for you and send that out to you. It's an autobiography. I mean, that's what it really is. And at the bottom, it says names have been changed to protect the guilty. But this is why I'm saying you got to be who you are. And the thing about it is that you don't know what you don't know. You can be, this is the most mind-blowing part of being a matchmaker. This is why I was so scared to put this out, because I talk about I'm good at what I do because I've already lived it all. You know what I'm saying? It's not because I've had a perfect marriage. It's because I grew up with parents who had multiple divorces, my mom's an orphan. My mom came from addiction and her dad. My mom came from generational curses. So this book is about how to get over whatever curse it is you're under, but it's also about what's your coping mechanism. Some people turn to drugs, some people turn to alcohol, some people turn to sex, because it's worth issues. But at the end of the day, and believe it or not, some people overachieving can be a coping mechanism as well. So the thing is that it's so easy to judge others, but don't want to put your dirt out in the street. And so that's what I have a problem with fake Christians, because we're supposed to come to each other and say, I need help with this. I'm struggling with this. This is what's going on. But you got to make it a safe place for people to feel like they can be in that energy, because most of the time you can't even get in the church parking lot and they roasting the pastor and what he's wearing. You see Sister so-and-so. It's like the sex fest before you even get in the door, and then you get in, hallelujah. Like, it's just, when you look at Jesus as the example, look who he hung out with. We have to be among each other. And that is why I do what I do in my ministry, is to cure the divorce rate, because I am a child of divorce. My parents divorcing 3 times. My dad left my mom her best friend after 20 years. And that is why I saw firsthand why it's important to have your friends are and who your circle is. And it's so crazy because I've seen the devastation. My stepbrother and my mom, with our gift, she called her best friend the day she found out what was going on. And she said, it might be in the form of one of your kids, but something will happen to you for what you did to me and my kids. 10 years later, my stepbrother got killed in a car accident. Now, check this out. This is what's been real crazy. And then last year, I lost my sister to suicide. So I'm telling you, be careful what you speak out over people, because it will return to you. So my mom and her best friend both lost one of their children.
So let's pause over that, because although none of the couples that your mother ever put together got divorced, she got divorced.
Yeah, 3 times.
3 times. And then and we talked about this. This was really due to her not getting healed with her own trauma.
Exactly. So you can have a gift of discernment. You can be an empath. You can be sensitive and vibe on people on a deeper level than other people do. But that don't mean that. But if you combine that with generational curses, and you grew up as an orphan, and you were thrown around to foster cares your whole life, you never learned how to be. You never had a parent. You never learned love. You never learned selflessness. You never learned any of the 80% of your personality is formed by the time you're 5. But if you're getting abused in foster care, that don't mean it makes you very empathetic, But at the same time, it don't mean you can do it for yourself, because until any of us are healed, we're going to keep getting divorced. but that's the thing. But back in the day, the mental health aware, nobody knew about mental health in the 60s.
Yeah. You know what?
Nobody.
I'm really loving on Generation Z because they are so into becoming whole. They
Amen.
really
Me
work
too.
on becoming
Mhm.
whole people. I love that about them, you know.
I love it, and that's the thing. But that goes back to be. That's what I'm saying. Be in your truth. We all, that's what I'm saying. You got to be open about the mistakes. And now that I've learned how damaged my sisters and I were from what we went through with my parents' multiple divorces, I wrote this book because I don't want my kids to go through any of the stuff that we went through. And I told somebody that the other day. I have a beautiful relationship with both my children, and we're so close. And I said, if I didn't do nothing but come to this earth and stand in the gap and change the course of the curse of my bloodline for my future generations, I did
Hmm.
everything I came here for, because now my kids and I are close. They've learned healthy. My daughter's already in a happy marriage. My son's in a happy relationship, and we're super tight. I hated my parents in my 20s, but that's how much toxicity they put us through. But that's the point. We've healed, and I knew God put it on my heart. Amber, you're the leader of the family. You have to go first. So I healed me. It started healing my whole family. And at the end of the day, we can't be responsible for other people's healing. We can try to show them the way, but
Hmm.
sometimes the addiction and the depression, left unattended or self-medicating, will lead in destruction. And
Hmm.
I've said that for many years, I don't want other kids to go through what I went through. So losing my sister 8 months ago has been the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. I mean, there's nothing harder. I've lost many people around me. That was my baby sister. And when my mom left after my parents got divorced, my mom kind of pieced out and left and went to Houston and left us in East Texas with our dad.
Hmm.
I was kind of like their mom. You know what I'm saying? So it's been very
Hmm.
hard. But
So when you lost your sister, it was a lot like almost losing a child in that way.
oh, it's been it's very very traumatizing. So I've always said that on my journey, that I don't want other kids to go through what me and my sister went through. So for my sister to get to a point that she had to leave us, that
Hmm.
is, I just, it's hard to understand. And my mom struggles with it because she's like, well, how could she do that? I'm like, you can't, until you understand addiction and you understand mental illness and put it in a combination of being unhealed, it is a toxic for disaster. And on top of the pandemic, World War III doomsday all around the corner,
It's a lot.
if you watch the news, it'll make you not want to leave your house. So people that are suffering from mental illness, we have to stop shaming people. 80% of people are on something for chemical imbalance. It's just a chemical imbalance. Stop shaming people. We've got to heal each other.
My brother was a very happy uh, gentleman, and he was successful. He had children. He was I don't know, he was a good guy, um, and he committed suicide, and it went
Wow.
round and round and round in my head, um, until something happened to my mother. I couldn't understand, why would you do that? Why would a person do that? Now, of course, there's more than one reason, but when my mother got sick, and my mother's been unhealthy really my whole life, but when I say she got sick, she was um, flatlining. They were telling me she was gonna, die. This is all within the last year. She was in the hospital for like 7 months. It was a big
Wow.
mess. It
Blood.
like really threw me off my feet. But um, I reached the end of myself, and it wasn't till then that I had ah,
Breakthrough.
this is why
Hmm.
people commit suicide,
Hmm.
because there was no peace, and it was constant pain, and it was
Right.
in my head, and it was chasing me. And even though I was walking around, and I'm a smiler, I could still smile. I could smile and be in absolute agony at the same time. You
Right.
know, my heart hurt to breathe. I could not get away from the pain that was in my head.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to go away.
That's
I just
right.
wanted it to go away. And so for me, I finally understood what it was like to get to the end of myself. I found my relationship with God. I don't know what other people find when they get to the end of themselves, but for me, I believe that I would no longer be on this earth had I not found my relationship with God.
And that's the crazy part. I know my sister was a believer, but that's one thing I've learned, even in my own spiritual walk, is God is trying to get you to know the difference between what you see and what you know in your spirit.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
this
I'm
instinct.
I'm not implying that just because someone commits suicide, it doesn't mean that they don't love God. That's why I
Oh, right. I haven't put
specifically
it that
said
way.
for me.
Yeah,
For me, that was the stopper for me.
right. Yeah,
And that
she
was
had
very
addiction. My sister had addiction issues and mental health, but I'm very proud of her, even though we had her autopsy done and she was clean. And I think that was the part was I think that was what put her over the edge though. She was clean, not on her medicine, not self-medicating, and unhealed. So
mm,
it put those together. I think she was trying really hard, but
mhm,
unfortunately, she was weaker, and she just wanted it to stop. And so
wow.
I think that's, I mean, I don't know, I never endorse suicide, but I think that's for kind of brave. I mean, there's no coming back from that. Like that's it. Like to make that
Mm,
decision for yourself. And at the end of the day, even though I miss her, I'm more at peace that she's at peace.
mm.
That's how I feel.
Absent from the body, present with the Lord. I think is what I hear you were saying.
Mhm.
Now we got two big things to cover. Two
Okay.
big things to cover. Um, you have an amazing event coming up on April 30th. Tell us about that.
Yes, so we are the Real Housewives of Houston organization, Kim's Place, and the Amber Neal PR firm are doing the Give Them Flowers humanitarian Mother's Day event because, it is about give people their flowers while they're here. Tell
Hmm.
people you love them now. Don't
Yeah.
wait, delay. And so we're honoring some really amazing women in the community for humanitarian efforts, and it's going to be a great networking event. And if you'd like to join us out there, tickets are on sale. You can go to the Real Housewives of Houston Facebook page. That's probably the fastest way to get to it. And you can just click on the link and get the tickets there. Or if you want to contact me directly, I can help you guide you through that. So that's coming up April 30th. We're super excited to be spending that day with our moms and celebrating Mother's Day and celebrating some great community leaders here in Houston.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you honoring anyone special that day or how's that working?
So we have we're honoring Sheila Jackson Lee. She's a congresswoman here, and we're honoring several other community leaders. There's too many to name, but I love women empowerment events. I mean, that is what it's really about. It's helping each other out and getting involved with. Networking groups that are really not ego based, that are truly have a heart for giving and serving and understand the obligation, responsibility of what it means to be a servant leader.
Amen.
Mhm.
Amen. I absolutely love that. I love it. Okay, and you've given us a lot of insight. Listen, put this on rewind, watch it back. There's a lot of tips and insight. You will most certainly laugh. But if you had to give those in the dating world, and quite honestly, I think you have some advice for people who are married too. But
Right.
those in the dating world, if you had to give them three solid tips on dating, what would you say to them?
Pray about it before you get into the relationship.
Okay.
Don't pick it yourself and then pray it's blessed.
Come on, God, bless this mess.
Yeah. And God's like, who is this? Uh, but that's number one. Put God first. Don't want or need anything more than you wake up to be a servant leader. to do your kingdom work. You know what I mean? Number
Okay.
one is keep your mind focused on God and His purpose, because the enemy will distract you and send you somebody that looks like everything you pray for, and it's the devil incarnate. So you got to slow down and don't be so thirsty to find love or fear based that you won't ever find it again, that you just settle for that. So it's very important that you have God in the decision making process, because God wants His best for you.
Yeah.
And you know if it is or not. So that's number one, is put God in the decision making process before you commit to the relationship. That's number one. Number
Okay.
two,
Good.
pay attention to the red flags. Oh my God, they're right there. Hello, you can see them from
Okay.
space. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But again, get yourself healed to where I'm telling you, once you're healed, the way you think, the way you look for, because once you're self-aware enough to understand how brokenness looks, you
Mhm.
identify it very quickly. So if people do what they want to do and people do what you let them, so if they're not calling, if they're not making an effort, you're the only one doing everything, you can't get a hold of them, you get Valentine's on February 15th, then you need to pay attention to the signs. You might be a side chick or a side dude.
Oh, wait. That's a whole nother. That's an episode that you might be a side chick. That's like, what is it? What was his name?
Or
The you might be
Foxworthy,
rich.
you might be a
Yeah, there you go.
redneck.
That's funny.
But definitely pay attention to the red flags. But the thing is, anything you have to have in order to be happy, the enemy, the devil, will and can use against you to keep you in bondage and keep you trapped.
Mm,
So, number two, pay attention to the red flags. And number three, be yourself. I know
mm,
you're tempted to filter it up, put on a filter, put on a girdle, put on all the things to make it pop, 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 pop. But at the end of the day, they're going to see. Okay? Don't be so tight. You got so much stuff wrapped around your body that you got fake this and fake that. Everything's fake, and you take it off at the end of the night, and then you look like a busted can of biscuits. Honey, he's going to see it. So stop with all the fake filters, fake implants, fake, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep it clean, but keep it, be yourself. There is,
Ever.
well,
I'm not messing with you. Said a busted can of biscuits.
gonna find out. I'm just saying, like, you can only fake it so long, if unless you're a freaking sociopath, and you're sitting here and you're a professional con artist. But be yourself. Have confidence to know if you might be a little overweight, or you might not be as tall as you want to be. You might not be this, you might be that, whatever. Stop comparing yourself with other people. God gave you your unique thumbprint, your unique identity. God looked at this world and said, hey, you know what? They need one of her. They need one of him. Stop trying to compare yourself to other people's callings, blessings, and who they are. Be confident in who God made you to be. And that comes from seeing yourself through God's eyes and not man. You don't get your blessings from anyone, but God. And so I think that you got to be comfortable in your own skin, being true to who you are, because there is such a peace of mind in that. And as I always say, there is a lid for every pot. So don't change who you are. I promise you, somebody loves you just as you are. But guess what? Until you do, you'll never find them.
Awesome. I'm hanging out with Catrice too. She said check them out on case.net.
Hey,
Safety first.
I run a background check. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you want to know what? I can't help.
40B.
Yes. Remember the movie Dirty John is based off of a true life story. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying.
It's based off of
Just check people out, guys. I mean, just slow down, and understand the culture we live in. Just because that's the culture, the Bible hasn't changed. We change to try to fit it to what we want to do. And at the end of the day, you got a blueprint laid out right in front of you of what a Proverbs 31 woman is, what a king looks like. And when a man meets you, he is submitting to you. That's when he's showing you, I am worthy of you submitting to me. But don't follow no joker. Make sure that he truly has a heart for God and he's not just a con artist trying to play games. Slow down.
Wow.
The
A con
message today
artist.
is slow down.
Yes, slow down,
Don't be so
slow down.
thirsty. Okay?
Don't mess with a con artist trying to be a king or a queen.
Bunch of clowns.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You know what? I have been here with Amber Neal. You have been a absolute uh, delight. Thank you for hanging out with the best energy on the planet.
I'm sleeping this late at night.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, darling?
I'm surprised. I've been going all day. I'm like, okay, I'm here.
Yes, you know what? We got that energy. You know what? You come here, you get into the love land energy, and poof, pow, you're no longer tired. That's how it goes.
I can talk about relationships for I love it. I mean, I just love helping people find whatever it is they love, whether it's love or career. I mean, that's why they call me the go-to girl, because if it's on your heart as a dream, I can help you find it.
Oh, wow. You know what? We didn't even touch this, but you really do look at people's careers as well as their their life for love. You know,
Hmm.
that's why that's why it's a business model. It's a whole makeover with you.
It really is, because if you're a PR client, I'm going to look at your love life. If you're a matchmaking client, I'm going to help you with your business,
Hmm.
because it's all about all of it. Business is nothing but relationships.
I
So
love it.
you can't
I
take the relationship out of the relationship business, whether it's for personal or business. So one stop shop, I got you. What do you need? Huh? What do you need?
What do you need? There we go. Thank you, everybody, for spending time with us today. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you with us, Amber Neal. You're coming back. You're coming back after the
Hello.
conference with Shamir to tell us how it went. I'm so excited about that. So stay tuned for her to come back with Shamir. She'll be back in May to tell us about the conference. But we have to go. So bye bye for now. Thank you for watching.